Today, now going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Anheuser Busch Valentine's Day tweet is 100% negative feedback in the first couple hours, as the youth might say they were ratioed, to say the least. Now, this, interestingly enough, this is the social media profile that gets the least amount of visceral hate and disgust, and as youth might say, ratioed with negative comments, since again, the number of people who know the brands behind Budweiser, the less and less people, the more you zoom out from the situation, the less people realize. Because everyone in America knows the brand Bud Light, and a couple of them might know Anheuser Busch, and even fewer of them know Anheuser Busch InBev, which is a new global company headquartered in Belgium. Now, interestingly enough, they said this from their ex-Twitter account. They said, quote, tag someone you'd give your last rose to, hashtag Valentine's Day. And it looks like they're on some type of dirt road. Perhaps it's in their, not the horse stables, but somewhere on the corporate campus. So the background is just dirt. Not even high quality. You probably get better dirt at Home Depot, but nevertheless. And it is a cute Dalmatian, and then it's a flower, a flower being offered to the Dalmatian. Which, again, in terms of brand apparel, I would have done, again, the most iconic mascot that Anheuser Busch InBev has is probably the Clydesdale horses, which they have been using on the Budweiser social media profile lately. But I'm surprised they didn't just lean into it and just do the same thing here, instead of using a Dalmatian, which they do use, but much more rarely. Just use the Clydesdale horse that everyone knows already. Or if they want to lean into, again, they're paying Shane Gillis millions of dollars, they could have done something where they're handing him a rose and he looks like Danny making cheese sandwiches at the night. Like, there's a lot of things they could have done with this. I guess perhaps this is like the safest bet, some might say, but didn't pan out. Now, again, I wrote down, it happened last week, but I wrote down the statistics 24 hours after this posted, and it got less than 3,000 views. I mean, not to brag, but last month I got a video with 4,000 views. Once or twice. It has happened, statistically speaking. And it got 2,332 views, only 45 likes, which is terrible to say the least, which, another friendly reminder for you to take 1/1000th of a second to like this video, as I would greatly appreciate it. It only got 9 comments, which, again, is terrible. This is a holiday that many Americans celebrated last week. It's something that most of these big companies are putting out marketing materials. And, a more persuasive thing would have been to have, say, we're going to choose one of the people who responds to give a free 6-pack to their significant other. So you can give your husband a free 6-pack of beer. Now, granted, it'd be an Anheuser Busch InBev product, so fair warning, if you did try that last week, I wouldn't recommend it because it could lead to someone breaking up on Valentine's Day, which would be quite sad. Now, going to the comments section, I was going to say, not to be a spoiler alert, but fascinatingly enough, this looks like there's one more than when I wrote the script for this. So there are 1 or 2 more comments than original. Is there perhaps a positive comment? Or do they have the rare occurrence where they achieve the Chris Christie effect? A fascinating social media phenomenon where we covered twice in the show, where Chris Christie posted something on X Twitter, and 100% of the comments were negative, which is a fascinating astronomical statistical outlier because presumably Chris Christie has family members, he has friends allegedly, and supposedly he had a campaign staff, rumored enough, when he was attempting with his futile attempt to run for Republican nominee. And there were 2 instances where we went through all the comments of Chris Christie on 2 of his posts, not a single positive one, which again is almost impressive in terms of ineptitudes. Now, going down to the Anheuser Busch comments. The first one comes from Young Chap 99, and he says, quote, please tell Bud Light to unblock me. They have no sense of humor. I used to love Bud Light, but now they are my least favorite beer. Miller High Life all day, unquote, getting 2 likes. I'm not going to count this as a positive one. It seems more like a random one. Pamela Hansen Etherton, she simply said, hashtag I run on caffeine, which I can only assume it's a robot because Anheuser Busch InBev doesn't make caffeinated products, they make alcoholic products, and perhaps the exception might be back in, the 2000s eras with Four Loko. Alcoholic products overall slow you down. It's quite the antithesis of caffeine. So, I don't know why she's interested or pretending to be interested in this tweet because, again, this is going to slow you down if you drink it. So we're going to count that no. Nick Schrader says, quote, hashtag drink garbage beer, unquote. It was a good tweet, but no one actually liked it. Nevertheless, Samantha Shurag tagged a friend no one liked her tweet. She did tweet it, so she just inserted a friend's hashtag. Going to Samantha's profile, she has 700 followers. Joined in 2010, so been around a while. And that's strange. So she has original post on X Twitter. Usually when there's a positive or neutral post on Anheuser Busch, InBev, or any of their brands on X Twitter, usually it's a robot or someone who has mentally as vacuous as a robot. We're just reposting for all the free crap you could allegedly win on social media, from coolers to gift cards. And yeah, so we're going to count that as a neutral though, because she's not saying anything positive about anything. She just tagged a friend. Which, and again, all right, they don't deserve the Chris Christie effect today. That they are telling people to tag your friend that you give a rose to, and she tagged a friend. So of the, how many is this? Of the 9 comments, one person did appropriately tag a friend. The other comments come in from Robert Ramos. He says, quote, "And American Sweetheart is Yangling Beer. You're welcome." Getting 3 likes. Going down more and more. Blue Dog Democrat says, quote, "Her? It's her, right?" And it's a GIF, or as youth might call it, a GIF of Dylan Mulvaney in short shorts, a tank top, and shoulder length hair. And the details really do add up over time. The nail, what do you call it? What do women do with their fingernails? They paint them. So painted fingernails, dancing around. They got 1 like, and Dylan is in the text says normalize the bulge. And that did get 1 like though. So even the Blue Dog Democrats are boycotting or going against the Bud Light. Night Ronan says, quote, "You have tried everything but an apology," and is a video of someone going to a store where there are copious amounts of Bud Light on the shelves and all over the floor, just not moving at all and not selling. That got 2 likes. Let's see here. You also have Tony Bruno doing a GIF of, or a picture just of Dylan Mulvaney. They got 1 like. And that's it. Though we can go to the very top. There's that button of the hidden responses that Anheuser Busch doesn't want us to see. So, of course, we're going to click that button and see and talk about them. So, we'll call that the bonus button. We click that, and it is from 1 reply from hashtag right from the D. And they say, quote, "Dylan Mulvaney is who Bud Light would," unquote, getting 1 like before Anheuser Busch blocked, or they blocked this person, they censored that comment. So you couldn't see it unless you tune into the show or you click that button. So again, they had a kernel of a good idea in terms of like a Valentine's Day tweet, but it just didn't pan out right. Really doesn't give you more of a compelling reason to buy the product. Fascinatingly enough, to even show the product. I mean, they have pictures of like the Bud Light, like Dalmatians buy a case of Bud Light on like, what was it? I think one was actually on a carriage or something like that. So fascinating enough, hilariously enough, and ironically enough, they do have that little, not bold font, very light font to the top right corner. It says of the picture from Anheuser Busch, and they say message for 21 plus. Hilarious and ironic, considering they hired Dylan Mulvaney for $185,000 to promote their brand, where Dylan Mulvaney's average audience member is about 15 years old. And yet they gave Dylan a can commemorating Dylan's 365 days of womanhood, which, as Harrison Ford might say, that can belongs in a museum in terms of being the biggest business blunder in marketing, certainly of my lifetime. And as I think about business history, I can't help but think I guess the only one would be worse would be the Osborne effect, because this didn't put Anheuser Busch out of business. The Osborne effect from the ADHD story, they were a computer company where they came out with a computer called the Osborne, I think it was the 1, and it was just starting to sell their first model. Within a week of them starting to sell it, they announced, oh yeah, we have the Osborne 2, so we're going to have twice the memory, all these great features for a lower price. So no one bought the original 1 hardly, and that caused the company to go out of business. So I suppose we can't say this is the biggest business blunder in the world, because they didn't go out of business. They did lose, again, it's a lot, but they did only lose 30% of their sales for Bud Light, with other brands, Budweiser being down around 10 to 12%, and Michelob Ultra down around 4% week over week in sales, with other brands being about the same of the 40 plus brands they have in the Anheuser Busch InBev portfolio. But needless to say, their attempt at Valentine's Day last week was mostly sad and lonely. So I would say, I think as a youth might say, epic fail. But let me know in the comments if you think this is a persuasive, good idea. Always be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, we're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of February, so if you click that button, I greatly appreciate it. Also, leaving a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback. Also, sharing the show helps with the magical YouTube algorithm. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.